Hello everyone, my name is Mirna, and on behalf of the Mindalia TV team, welcome to Mindalia live streaming, where thousands of people around the world gather to see the lectures and interviews organized by Mindalia TV. Today with us, Angel Ribo, CEO consultant, TV host, international public speaker, and president of the Wisdom for Kids Foundation, is going to be co-hosting with Dan Blanchard. Dan is a best-selling author and award-winning. He's a speaker and an educator. They're going to be bringing to the conversation VJ Stanley. He's a published author, former head hockey coach at the college level for 21 years, and he's also a public speaker. Before starting with them, we want to remind you that Mindalia's mission is to share information that can help raise the level of consciousness around the world, and you can help us by subscribing to our channel, leaving us a positive comment down this video, or sharing it with someone that you know that is going to benefit of the content that we're talking here today. Also, while we are live streaming, like right now, we have the active chat, the screen that you're going to be seeing here on my side, or down the video in case that you're seeing us from a smartphone. And through there, you can interact with us. You can ask your questions at the end of the conversation. They will be kindly answered. We also want you to collaborate with Mindalia with your own valuable content. And for that, you can go to our website. On the top, you're going to find a link. It says Collaborate with Mindalia. That link is going to take you to a form that you can fill out for our technical team to be getting in contact with you. Remember, you can collaborate with Mindalia in Spanish through Mindalia Televisión, Portuguese through Mindalia Televisao, and English, as you already know, through Mindalia TV English. We want to invite you to visit our different channels to find out the information that is being shared there, daily information that is as beautiful and as interesting as the one that you see on Mindalia TV. Also, follow our Facebook pages, our Instagram accounts, so you keep yourself informed about all the content that we are developing there. I'm not gonna delay this any further, and I wanna leave you now with Angel, Dan Blanchard, and VJ Stanley. Guys, welcome to Mindalia live streaming. The screen is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mirna, for the introduction. Welcome everybody to Mindalia TV, and welcome, Daniel. I think you are okay. Now I can see. Awesome. So welcome back, Daniel. Thank you for being here again today.
Yeah, you're welcome, Angel. It's always a pleasure to do these shows with you. I'm looking forward to another great show. And today we have VJ with us too, which is going to be awesome. I think we're going to have some really good things to talk about today.
Absolutely, absolutely. So how was your week? Because we are on those break weeks in which kids are not in their schools. You're very much onto that life. We are as well, because we have 2 kids in the school age and 1 at college age. So we have our hands full. So how is this time coming to an end for you?
Well, I got to tell you, Angel, it was one heck of a week. I think we had, my family, I got 5 kids at home, and lots of relatives. And I think we had maybe like 4 different Christmases, which was crazy with all the food we ate and how busy we were, and like the going back and forth between people's houses. And my son, as you may remember, he's wrestling. So, wrestlers don't get this week off. So we were at a lot of wrestling tournaments this week. And my daughters are playing futsal, which is sort of like a Brazilian style sort of soccer. So This week went by in a flash. I mean, we were so busy this week that I can't believe that another week has gone by. But it was a good week, Angel. Awesome week. Thank you.
No, please, absolutely, anytime. Excellent, because obviously, the ones that we have kids at home, and there's a lot of people on Mindalia, on all our 3 channels of Mindalia that have kids. And it's always a blessing for us to have someone that is working with kids and can help not only kids, but can help parents. We have tons of parents, actually, even our Spanish television, Spanish channel. We have around probably like 1.6, 1.7 million people watching us every month. So there's definitely, a need for us to help people in all the different languages that we cover. So why don't you help us get to know a little bit better VJ, Dan?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Me and VJ, we got a lot in common, so I'm really happy that VJ was able to make this show today. And I can't wait till we can go back and forth. All 3 of us banter on a bunch of the things that we have in common and the good stuff we got. I got to tell you, VJ, we've been talking for a little bit. I've gotten to know you. And I just like to throw out there to you, we're both in the business of making young men into good men. And, we kind of do it through sports. So if I can humor you just for a second. Now, I remember, I'm sure you remember, back in the days when they used to say that the military, turned boys into men. Now, we don't quite have as many people going into the military as we used to have, but I'm still a very firm believer that even though not as many kids are playing sports, but I'm still a very firm believer that today sports are a great way to turn young boys into great men, responsible men, mature young men. So, Vijay, I know me and you do a lot of that, and I was just hoping you could kind of maybe touch on the subject a little bit about sports, building young, good men and some of the things that you do in that realm.
Well, thanks everybody, all three of you, for having us on the program today. We appreciate it. The basic thing is we've lost a sense of community. And if you're going to build a child, one of the most important things is they have to feel safe. And you can still hold them accountable, but that safety comes from trust. I was talking to Angel earlier, and I'm about as non-political as you can get. But I believe the presidency of the United States is the hardest job in the world, and I have the utmost respect for it. But what we need is trust. And that's a reciprocal truth. Like, I'm my father's son and my brother's brother. Mm-hmm. You want to have that so it's always true. And therefore, it becomes a sense of community. And therefore, now the children can own their journey.
Yeah. If I could jump in there real quick, Vijay, I remember years ago, I was working in a inner city special education middle school classroom, self-contained behavioral. So I used to tell people that's almost like 3 strikes and you're like out, you know what I'm saying? But I remember like one Saturday afternoon, morning and afternoon, I was running a citywide middle school wrestling tournament where all the middle schools from the city came over to the school I was working at, and we had this huge wrestling tournament. And I remember them kneeling down on the side of the mat. I got my blue jeans on, a t-shirt. I got my baseball hat backwards. And one of my students, who was a very difficult student and who I didn't think liked me a whole lot, he slides up next to me and he says, "Hey, mister, I never seen you look like this before." It was outside the classroom. And I wasn't wearing my tie. I wasn't wearing my shoes. I had my baseball hat, which wasn't allowed in school. Had it on backwards. And there we are, kneeling side by side, watching wrestling, watching a sport, talking about a sport. He had enrolled in the tournament. So I'm like talking to him about some techniques and some moves. And I got to tell you, that was the turning point in my relationship with that very challenging, difficult student. And when we went back to school on Monday, all of a sudden, it was like you were saying, Vijay, that kid all of a sudden had more trust in his teacher because he saw me more than just a teacher. We shared that moment in sports together, and he had a lot more trust in me after that. And I remember many, many years when I was coaching wrestling, my students would end up on my wrestling team, and before they would end up on my wrestling team, they were difficult. But when they ended up on my wrestling team, before you knew it, BJ, they had so much trust in me that many of these kids, I used to say, they would go through brick walls for me all of a sudden, which they would have never done before because of that trust that sports can build. Now, I know you do a lot of talking on that trust, and hopefully maybe you can, elaborate a little bit more on that.
Well, we've gotten away from the basic fundamentals. One of the things I do in our presentations, it's smartphones. Well, they're not actually smartphones. They're answer phones. So if I give you a phone and give you 100 questions as a child, boy or girl, of course you can get the answer. But what happens is that we now substitute answers for knowledge. And knowledge comes from failure. And we're not letting them fail in a safe environment. And so what you did sitting by the kid, he was able to talk and relate and feel safe. What Angel does when he goes in and he sees into the indigenous people and he sees all the resources around there. Well, these people need someone that they can trust because a lot of these things are just being taken advantage of. One of our sayings is quite simple: play for fun, then compete. It transfers to the classroom and life. And what you want truly, and we've lost this mostly because of our political and business leaders, is we've lost what we call cooperative communication, cooperative competition, cooperative community.
Yeah, no doubt. Totally agree with you on that, VJ. And if I could go back a moment to when you talked about letting them fail in, let's say, a safe way, I think that we're missing that a lot out in our community today. And for example, it brings me back to a conversation I had with my son before he became a wrestler. He was playing a lot of other sports, soccer, track, cross country, football. Played a lot of different sports. And what I told him, I said, hey, you know what? You're not giving it your all. I mean, you're not putting your trust in yourself, putting your trust in your coaches, and putting your trust in your dad knows that you're not giving it your all. And he kind of kept going back and forth. Yes, Daddy. Yes, Dad, I am. I really am running. I'm like, no, you're jogging. No, I'm really running. We're going back and forth on this. And I said, hey, here's the deal. I said, the real world is not going to be as nice to you as sports. Sports gives you a very safe place where you can give it your all. And the consequences of failure are minimum. If you go out there and you give it your all in whatever sport you're at and you lose, who cares? It really doesn't matter. I mean, the whole thing is the process of you developing and learning that you can push past barriers, whether it's pain barriers, confidence barriers, whatever it is. And then if you fall, it's a safe environment. Maybe you get an L on your record. That's not going to hurt you. That's not going to kill you. That's not life-threatening like out in the real world. The real world, when you fall on your face, there's bigger consequences. I'm like, so why don't you fail where it's safe and learn to fail and push yourself and take chances in this environment where it's safe? I'm like, you got to do that. And my son, I think some of it actually stuck in his head. Maybe not all of it, VJ and Angel, but I think some of it actually stuck in his head because I'm thinking, think about it. What safer environment is it to fail? I mean, maybe the classroom, maybe, but sports, I mean, figure most of us are not we're not going to go pro. So who cares if you get an L on your record? It's a safe place to fail, just like you had mentioned, VJ.
Well, and let me expand a little farther in that. A lot of children now, and I've met with school superintendents, teachers, athletic directors, Common Core and standardized testing have hurt the ability of children to learn. Nobody learns to the test. That's not how children learn. Mm-hmm. And so what has happened, your son, girls, whatever it is they purposely don't try because they can't fail. Okay. And their brain, I mean, we've worked with over 5,000 kids. And this mentality, as I said to you earlier, with the smartphone and the need to get something right, is the children live in fear or doubt. And so they can't, what we see as a safe environment, they can't process that because they take a test in school, standardized test. They're already pigeonholed. Well, if you take the reality of the human species, a child scientifically is actually in adolescence from 12 to 25. That's the data is overwhelming in that. And so what has happened in sports is they've no longer become a safe environment, is that they fail and they sit the bench. They fall out of line, and the drive home with the parents. And we say two things. When you take your child to a game, the only thing you should say in the car is have fun. On the way home, it's I love you. But what has happened is because of the money, it used to be that adults, the parents, live vicariously through the kids. But now, because of the pressure, they partner with the kids. And it's devastating to these kids. They don't know who to trust. And so we've lost, as I say, our sense of balance. And you can see in your story about your son, is that they don't know who to trust because they're getting hammered. It used to be the older guys help the younger guys. Well, now, we see 8, 9, and 10-year-olds sitting on the bench in a game. We see, not playing. Nobody gets better sitting on the bench. And then if you take that to the classroom, well, the teachers are supposed to spend more time with the C and the B students. And back in the day, the A students helped the B students. So we've lost this sense of community, which is the very foundation of who we are.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that we need to go back to Dr. Carol Dweck's book on mindset. And I like to remind, I've written on this and spoken on this myself, where I remind parents and, that'll bring in their kids to an athletic game. I'm like, it's always pat on the back, good effort. That's what you got to do. You got to always praise the effort, because if you praise the victory, if you praise the goal, then the kid's going to feel unloved tomorrow if they don't score a goal.
Right, but I've got to interrupt, Dan. I'm sorry. But my point that I want your audience to understand is these kids are purposely not trying, okay? They're faking injuries. They're not trying in school because they do not trust the adults. We're the only species at birth where the babies are 100% dependent on the adults. But what's going on is if a B player is in a game and he makes a mistake, he gets yelled at and he gets taken out. Well, he or she does not want to try anymore. They don't want to go through that rejection. But as much as, and one of the jokes, I was a professional stand-up comic for 7 years. One of the jokes I used to do on stage was, the reason God made teenagers because it's the only way moms could let their kids go. So what has happened is they purposely don't try. And so, yes, your point is, and it was hugely important. Mountains of books were written on it. Don't praise the kid for being intelligent, praise him for an effort. But they lost the balance. It's about balance. And so what has happened now is children are getting praised for the effort and they know they didn't try hard. So we've this trust that is so, and again, I go back to the politics, is I have the utmost respect for that office of the presidency, but I don't care who's in it. I don't trust them. They don't care about me. And it's an old saying that the children don't care what you know until they know that you care. It's stayed the test of time. But what we say over and over again is peace of mind is victory. Is that child in a spot? Is he or she in a spot where they can accept the white noise, be able to process it, and make good decisions? And the only way they can do that is by failing. And there's a huge difference between failing and being a failure.
Yeah. And I think back, VJ, back to the old days when we were going through, things have drastically changed, and it really bothers me. Like, I played 3 sports. Maybe you played 3 sports also, VJ. And the thing is, like, there really weren't that travel team. There really wasn't that specialization. You played your fall sport, your winter, your spring, maybe you did something in the summer, and you were like an all-around athlete. And that was like the ideal goal, to be an all-around athlete that could kind of play any sport. And then, of course that transferred right over to pickup ball in the neighborhood or down the street with the kids, whether it was basketball, touch football game, whatever it might be. And those were some really, really fun days. And now I'm driven crazy by the fact that they're telling kids, you have to play one sport and you have to specialize or you won't be able to keep up. And then you got maybe these mothers and fathers are kind of saying, maybe they're disagreeing. The father may be saying something like, oh, I wanted my kid to play multiple sports like I did in the old days. And then the mother's saying, but our kid will get cut from the team. Our kid will get cut from the team if they do. They won't be able to keep up. And that drives me crazy. So how do we turn the clock back?
But it's not, okay, what they're saying is not true. The great athlete has always been allowed to play multiple sports. The only ones that are told to specialize is the one we're trying to make money off of. There's going to be a big football game Monday night in San Francisco. On the 2 teams, Alabama and Clemson, 90% of the children played multiple sports. So what has happened is, once again, you have something and people don't want to step out of line. And the children know this, and it's become a job to them. Angel, do you have children?
Oh, yes, 3.
Okay. Do you remember when they were little?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
How young was the youngest one that said this to you? Dad, I can do it myself. See, he's laughing. He's laughing, people. They weren't even 2 or 3 years old. So what we've done is we've taken people like to call it the process. We call it the journey. They're not process. You don't process children. They're up and down and all over. It's the journey. And so in this journey, we've taken it away and we've been told, okay, the best ones are going to play. This one's going to be here. And the thing that you said, Dan, is so crucial. And one of the number one things we talk about, that if you can get your kids to go to the park, one adult, strictly for safety, and let them play pickup games. What Dan just said may be the single most positive development for balanced excellence, social, physical, and mental development for children that has been lost. And it's been legislated out because there's no money in it.
Wow. I would like to ask you, Vijay, I would like to know a little bit more, how did you end up doing what you do today? And also I would like you to share with the audience what is that thing that is your mission in your life, or your passion every day?
Oh, the passion is to earn enough money to get, we've done 8 pilot programs in the inner city to get back to the inner city. That's where my heart is. Some of these kids are screwed from the beginning. How I got into it, I've always written notes. When I was a college coach, I'm the youngest high school hockey coach in the history of the area that I come from, Monroe County, Rochester, New York. But I was always writing notes, and I had them in a bag, and someone would say, you should write a book. And so I ended up writing 3 books now, and I'm halfway through the 4th one. But then they said, well, can you come talk to us? And what happened is my son, who was playing soccer at the time, and he was playing up, which means he was playing up a year, which means I drank the Kool-Aid. And listen, everybody drinks the Kool-Aid, but we're just trying to stop people from ordering shots and doing pitchers. I drank the Kool-Aid. I'm telling people he's playing up. Well, we went to a tournament in Virginia, and at this time I was still a coach, a college coach, and I had scouted a little bit for 3 NHL teams. And in the tournament, there were 600 kids. There were only 3 Division I kids. So the rest of them were just there to feed these 3 kids. It was insanity. The program, the hotels, there was no. So we were driving home, and my wife had a minivan, and it had the video in the back. And so I had the kids turn it off, and that's when they knew that their father was going to say something crazy. And my son was 14 and my daughter was 12 at the time. And I turned everything off, and I said, I need both of you to understand there's no Santa Claus. And of course they said, oh my gosh, Dad, we already blah, 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 blah. I said, no. Neither one of you are going to play college. Neither one of you are going to get a scholarship. Play for fun. My son went back that year, played soccer for his high school team, had more fun, and led the team in scoring. My daughter quit playing soccer. So that's it. Don't want to do it anymore. And now she's a certified athletic trainer. So the light went on for me, this is all nonsense, because it's a race that doesn't exist. As Dan said earlier, only 1% of all the kids that go to college play at the Division I level, only half play for free. And so again, we've legislated the very thing that children need to be able to cope, and that's play, and then fun. The last study I read, 60% of all the jobs 40 years from now have not been invented. So what we really need to be teaching these kids is coping skills. And we're not, because we're structuring everything.
I so miss that.
Sorry, it was a long answer.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. Go ahead, Daniel.
I was going to say, I so miss that unstructured time of my youth when we were out climbing trees, throwing the baseball around, the football, the basketball, playing kick the can, whatever it was. And all that time we were problem solving. We were improving our communication skills, our ability to read body language, all these vital things that kids just don't seem to have today. Calculated risk taken. Can I reach that next branch? Can I hit the bucket from here? So we were doing all those things growing up that are not happening today, and it saddens me. And I'm not sure how we can get back to that. But if you look at the studies, they say that there's a correlation when those sorts of behaviors started declining. What started inclining was the children's inability to self-regulate themselves. And
yes.
And I'm not saying that one caused the other, but if you look.
Oh, I am.
It looks like to me and you, Vijay, that one causes the other, right?
I am saying it. If Dan's going to hedge, I'm not hedging. It's 100%. One of my degrees is my useless degree, I call it. It's in psychology. And it's mesmerizing to me. And listen, the parents mean well and they're trying, but they're so afraid to step out of line. And so to take what you're talking about, which is so invaluable, involves risk. What if Johnny or Debbie isn't the best anymore? What if Betty or Sam get better? You know, what if Raul or Tyrone becomes a better player? Oh my gosh. And that's why you don't see, and I'm just going to use you, Angel, me, and is it Myrna? Am I getting it right?
Yeah, Myrna, yeah.
Myrna. We all have kids. Why should either one of our kids pass to the other one? We each pay $2,000 to play in that team. I don't want Myrna's kid to get better. I don't want your kid to get better because my kid won't. And what Dan just said is so crucially important, is the very thing that's going to allow these kids to grow and be great has been taken away from them. And nobody did it on purpose. They were trying to do better. But, you know, in the United States, more is better, and it's not. They have to fail.
Let me change gears a little bit because you know, you mentioned inner city programs before, and you mentioned a number of them. How did you go from, you know, being so involved in sports and college sports into inner city programs? What was that bridge? What happened in your life that you went from one place to the other, VJ?
Well, in our family business, my dad was always involved with the inner city kids, books, clothes, and things like that. And I started coaching and helping inner city kids when I was a good athlete. I'll just leave it at that. And then at the rink we're at, our college rink, they brought in inner city kids. They gave them equipment. Well, the guy who was doing it wasn't showing up regular, so I just took it over. And when you see these kids, they have nothing. You know, they may go home at night and there's drugs at the home. They may go home with a pair of sneakers and get robbed for them. There may be no adult thing. And so we have all these people screaming at them to be champions and be great. You know what? They just want to get through the day safe. And this is the point that we talk about with the inner city people is, look, I am only here with the tools in the toolbox. True knowledge comes from internal realization, not an external force.
That's beautiful. And how long have you been doing that?
Except for my kid. My kid's going pro.
Oh, okay.
No, he's not. He's 24-year-old people. He's not. It's just, that's what I hear all the time. I'm sorry. What was your question, Angel?
No. I'm going to ask. I'm going to change the question a little bit. I'm going to change. You know, how are you? Well, so what do you see after the programs that you are running? What do you see are the aha moments that you have been able to experience yourself?
They read well. I see the whole thing. I like tweaking people. My daughter's favorite saying to me is, "Dad, stop stirring the pot. Put the spoon down. Stop." So I believe the best things are when I'm not around, and then I hear back from them. And my favorite one that I've heard so far is almost every inner city kid on the basketball team is reading more now than he did before our program started. There are less absences now. There are less fights. The parents are yelling at the kids less. The coaches are yelling. Yelling doesn't work with kids. They turn it off now. It's a different generation. If you watch this game Monday night and the two coaches yell at their players, they're just going to walk away from them. It doesn't work anymore. Doesn't mean you can't hold them accountable. There's just a different way of doing it. And so I like it when they then, as the saying goes, pay it forward. It's not about me. I don't care if anybody remembers me 100 years from now. I'd like them to remember balanced excellence because that means balance is working. But me, nah, I'm done. Let's just make the better place and call it a day. And can I show you guys? I live at the lake.
Oh, it's beautiful. I got to tell you, VJ, to throw in a little something about that balance in this dog-eat-dog world that we're living in now, something that I've always found useful and enjoyable is forming relationships. You know, we got to, I know you had talked about getting these kids to trust and they don't trust adults. Well, I don't know if I have a gift, but I don't think so. And I'm sure there's a lot of adults out there just like me that just form relationships easily with the young students, the young athletes, or even the young athletes, family members that show up to watch. And I think that that's vital. And that's something that we would be remiss not to mention, that we all need to, every once in a while, remember that relationships really is everything, especially in these times of stress. When these kids are thinking that they're trying to go pro or whatever, and they don't want to put an L in their column. Those relationships that we form with them makes it so that maybe when they're going home at night, they can keep their head up and they're not dropping their head and going home in sorrow. They know they're going to come back the next day and see an adult that cares for them and loves them and has a good relationship with them. And somehow, some way, things are going to work out and somehow they're going to be okay because of the relationships that they have with us. And I'd like to urge all adults out there, whether you're coaches, teachers, mentors, or whatever you are, is not to forget that part of the equation. I know, Angel, you do a lot of that stuff as well with what you do with relationships. And Vijay, I know you do it as well.
We do a whole presentation. We did it last summer on Long Island for USA Hockey. It's called Relationship Coaching. If you ask, by the way, it's everything. It's not sports. It's not school. It's not life. It's not family. One or the other. It's all of them. Life is about, look, the most punishment we can give someone that commits a crime is kill them. But the second thing is solitary confinement, because we are social creatures by nature. And the evolving of this relationship, the evolving of trust, is the single most important aspect for a child to learn, experience, and be able to do on their own. And that's, we say, peace of mind is victory. They want to feel safe.
And how do you do it with your, do you with your inner city programs, do you integrate those kids with, kids from other environments? Are you able to do that? Is that a way to help them or teach them how to develop relationships away from their current environment?
Yes, it is. And we've done it twice. No, we've done it 4 out of the 8 pilot programs. We've done it half the time. The problem is, again, each one, Angel, is individual. You hope you can do that, but if you see you can't, you've got to take what life gives you. It cannot be an extrinsic force. It's got to be an internal realization. We were doing one where these seniors in the school were mentoring middle school kids. So they're playing a pickup basketball game, and the seniors are playing 8th graders, and they crushed them. And you could tell the 8th graders were upset. So I went and talked to the seniors, and I said, "What are you doing?" And they said, "Well, this is how they learn." And I'm like, who qualified you to teach these kids about life? Come on. And so you could see the light go on. And then went to the 8th graders, and I said, screw those guys. Tell you what, they're saying that they need to stack the deck to beat you. Go get them. Even if you lose, just go get them. Because, again, one of the things we say, Angel, is, do you want to play in a game that's 88-22, 14-0, or 55-56 overtime? Well, almost everybody wants 55-56 overtime, but I didn't tell you who won. So another one of our sayings is, it's not our job to decide when, how, or if the light goes on. Our goal is to just keep flipping the switch. Let them learn it. Let them own it. Let their journey, like if you take your kids, remember the bowling with the bars on the side?
Yeah.
Okay. If the ball goes down there and hits the bars, you don't take the kid and the ball and put them in your own lane, right? And if it goes down the middle, leave them alone. But again, we're so overstressed that our kids aren't going to make it. They're not going to be the best. They're not going to try the hardest. They're not going to get the scholarship, that the parents have been forced to overcompensate, when in actuality, they need to pull back.
I agree with you fully on that, Vijay. And one of the things that I've always believed in big time was a thing called inspirational leadership. I've always believed that if you inspire kids and you lead through inspiration, and of course throw in the relationship and a lot of the other things that we've talked about, you can get these kids to step up, to have some trust in you, to step their game up, and to want to do it, for it to come from the inside. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, in my younger years, whenever I was coaching, like I ran every lap, every step, every stair, lifted every weight, wrestled every minute. You know, I did all the things the kids were doing in the sports, and they saw me doing it, and they didn't feel like I was doing it to them. They felt like, you know, we were doing it together. Now that I'm, you know, they wanted to emulate me because they saw how good I was at what we were doing. So they wanted to be just like me. They were inspired by me. And then they were inspired by my kindness, you know what I'm saying, and the relationship I built with them. So it started coming from inside. If at first, maybe they said I wanted to be like my coach, then later on, you know, it was like, well, now they got pride in themselves because they're starting to win a couple matches or games. And now they just want to take it to the next level for themselves. Now, that's a little harder to do now that I've gotten older, right? But I can still, you know, I can't run as fast as the kids today. Obviously, I can't keep up with them. They blow me away. But I can use my words. You know what I'm saying? I can use my words to not punish them, to not put them down, but to build them up through inspiration and get them to reach inside of them to places they hadn't gone before and pull out things they haven't pulled out before and do things that they haven't been able to do before. And the next thing you know, they got a W in the column. And to tell you the truth, even if they don't have a W in the column, they did better than they did yesterday. That's a victory in itself. And we can build on that. We can build on that inspirational stuff without all the finger in the face and the thumb on them and, you know, saying, you have to do this. You have to do that. We don't have to go there as adults. You know what I'm saying? We don't.
All right, let me tell you a story. We're playing Colgate. This is ice hockey for your fans. And power plays. So we're down 2-1 with about 2 minutes and 20 seconds to go in the third period. And one of my pet peeves is whiteboards with coaches. Sports are chaos. Just you diagram. We did over 100 high school basketball games and found out that at the varsity level, the diagram play worked 10% of the time. Just stop. Let the kids play. So we're down, and I put my first unit out, and Colgate gets 2 shots on goal. Now, they have one less player. For those that don't know hockey, you have 5-on-4. They have one less player. So for whatever reason, their coach calls a timeout. And my guys come to the bench, and my assistant coach starts to hand me the whiteboard. Well, he played for me, so he knows I'm nuts. And I said, no, I don't need it. And so they came to me, and they said, okay, BJ, and by the way, you can't do this in high school, but in college, my players were not allowed to call me coach. If they called me coach, I called them player. My name's VJ. It's your name. We have a relationship. There's trust here. We don't need the coach thing. Even my business card said teacher. It didn't say coach of men's ice hockey. So they came to me and I didn't have the whiteboard. And they said, well, what are we going to do? And I said, how the heck do I know? They just got 2 shots. Do you really think if I had the answer, I wouldn't have given it to you by now? So then I had the third line go out. And I said, fine, you guys come off, let these guys play. And now the great story would have been we scored and won the game, but we didn't. But that wasn't the learning moment, which is what Angel asked me earlier. What happened we always gave them Monday off at practice. Because in my 21 years there, we graduated 31 doctors and lawyers and 28 engineers. I thought that's how you kept score. On Tuesday at practice, the power play was the best it's ever been because they knew they had inter-team competition. They knew if the first line didn't play, they would get a chance and not be judged and yanked off the ice. And that's what the kids are missing. And that's what's being hidden from a lot of the parents, is to be able to allow the journey, to be able to allow the kids to develop, the late bloomer, to keep giving chances in an environment where that they can succeed. Sorry, I'm preaching, people.
No. That's perfect. And actually, we have to start wrapping up. So I think that it's a perfect. I was going to ask you a piece of advice, but I think that's great. I mean, that's a great way to finish our conversation today. I would like to ask you, though, Vijay, where can we find you? Where can our audience find you, the parents of all those kids that will be watching us?
They can email me, VJ, V as in Vincent, J as in John, VJ@balancedexcellent.com. The Twitter account is Balanced Excellence, but it's BALANCD. People that are much smarter than me set this stuff up. I could barely turn my cell phone on and off. The Facebook is Balanced Excellence, and the website is balancedexcellence.com. which should be changed within the next 2 weeks and updated. But what I really want people to understand is that we're just here as a guide. Okay, the object of balanced excellence is to make us not needed.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much. Daniel, anything else you would like to add?
Yeah, I would just like to say, listen, I've always been a big proponent of the old Greek values of like mind and body. So I'd love to see kids getting in school, doing well, and having adults that have great relationships with them that are inspiring them to do well in school, and coaches that are inspiring them to do well in sports. And I don't mean by putting them down or putting the fear of God in them. I'm talking about teachers that inspire, coaches that inspire. And then with those skills and with that confidence, our kids can go far. Our next generation will be all right if they could do those sort of things. Who knows?
Can I just add one thing?
Maybe they'll even play a little pickup ball at some point.
Yes. Can I just add one thing, Angel, before we go?
Of course.
You don't always have to be in front to lead. We had a saying on our hockey team, you can't be my best player unless you're my best citizen and you take joy, true joy, in the success of others.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you very much. And Daniel, where can we find you? Where can we find you online?
Again, I'm all over. You can just Google Dan Blanchard author, speaker. You can go to danblanchard.net, granddaddy6.com. I'm on all the social media channels. Every one of them, you'll find me. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, I'm there. You'll have no trouble finding me. Amazon, I'm there. So looking forward to talking to you guys out there.
Awesome. Thank you. So thank you very much again, Vijay, for being with us today. Dan, again, a pleasure. And thank you for allowing us to, share so much knowledge, not only from you, but also from Vijay today. So thank you for this contribution.
Hey, guess what? I was right. The three of us had a great conversation, just like I said we would, huh?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Absolutely.
And lady. And lady.
Exactly. Exactly. And Mirna, thank you. So thank you very much. Again, this is Angel Rebo with Mindalia TV. Thank you very much, everybody that has been here with us today. I hope that you enjoyed the conversation as much as we did. It was really priceless for anybody that has any kids, really. I really enjoyed the conversation. I'm sure that you have as well. So thank you for being with us today. Hope to see you soon. Have a wonderful rest of the week. See you soon. Bye-bye.